Everyone loves the internet. I mean, think about it. It practically revolutionized the way we do things. If you want to look something up, you just go to a search engine and the results are there. If you want to keep in touch with friends and family, you just go to your favorite social media platform. If you want to watch videos, movies, or your favorite episodes, you got any number of streaming platforms. You can do research, you can read the Bible. But for all the good that the internet offers, there's an equal amount of bad. And by bad, I mean inappropriate content. And by inappropriate, I mean of an adult nature. Inappropriate for the Christian. And I would say inappropriate for anyone. But how can we combat the dark side of the internet when it seems to be so easily accessible? Well, let's talk about that. Grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. I'm Father Jim, and I'm so glad you decided to join me as we explore the possibility of protecting yourself and your family from inappropriate content online. And the way I like to suggest we go about this is by using a free and open source project called OpenDNS Family Shield. Family Shield is very simple. It blocks inappropriate websites for your entire network connection. And all you have to do is change 2 IP addresses in your router. If you address it at the router level, then you have effectively filtered all the content for every device that's connected to your router. That includes cell phones, iPads, smart TVs, laptops, you name it. Whatever is connected to your router will have this filtration automatic. It almost seems too good to be true, but it's actually not. It's really simple and it works great. So let's go ahead and get started on setting this up right now. First, I want to direct you to this article, OpenDNS Family Shield, on my website. I'll leave a link down in the description, but this article has all the steps needed to make this adjustment for yourself at home. And the first step is to update your router's configuration by logging into your router's admin page. Now, I don't want you to be intimidated by this. If you've gone on a website and had to type in your name, address, phone number, and email address, chances are that was more risky than accessing your own router in your own home and just changing a couple IP addresses for the DNS servers. Okay, so don't be intimidated by this. It's actually pretty straightforward. Most routers, believe it or not, have their own web page built into them that allow you to change these things pretty simply. All you need is your browser and the right IP address. And to make this easy, I've provided 4 of the most commonly used IP addresses right here in this article. Now, if neither of these work for your router, then I would just recommend going to the documentation, get the manual for your router, or do a quick web search to see which IP address you should be using to access your router. Once you do, then you're going to need your username and password in order to log in. To do that, I would suggest checking the bottom of your router for a sticker like this, or maybe the side of your router. A lot of times there is a sticker there that will give you the login and password for your admin page. In the case of this Netgear sticker here, just as an example, this one says the username is admin and the password is password. So not the most secure setup, but then again, most consumer brand routers are set up this way on purpose to make it easy for you to access the settings. All right, so let's say we have our IP address for the router. All we have to do is open up a new tab in our browser and type in the IP address here and hit enter, and then that will load up the correct IP. Now, I know you may be looking at mine saying, hey, yours is totally different. I mean, it's only different by 1 number, but that's because I have a pretty sophisticated setup here. So nevertheless, once you find the right one, you'll see it because it'll be the brand of your router. In my case, it's a Linksys, and it has right here, Access Router. Now, I have already set a password for my router. Yours may not have this. It may ask for the username, which in the case of that Netgear was admin, and then the password, which was password. So once you have that correct information, go ahead and type it in here and then click sign in. And here is my router's login page. Now this is very simple. Maybe yours is a little bit more elaborate. What we're essentially looking for here is a way to update the wide area network settings. Some routers actually have that WAN setting right there. You just click on WAN. And what wide area network refers to is the external connection from your modem to the rest of the world. The external connection, all right? LAN, on the other hand, refers to your local area network. In other words, all of the devices within your home that are connected to your router. So we're dealing with the WAN side of things, the wide area network. And the way to get there is through something like this link here, which says connectivity, or on your router, which may say WAN settings or ISP settings. That's where we want to go to change our DNS. And within this configurations panel, there is a little tab there that says Internet Settings. And on this particular tab, you can see your connection type, your IP addresses, and your default gateway, as well as the important stuff, the DNS servers. Now, in this case, I only have a single DNS server set up, but you may have two of them set up, especially on a wide area connection. What I would recommend doing is writing down those IPs. So for your DNS1, copy that down. For your DNS2, copy that down and store that in a safe location in case you ever have to revert back to the original settings. Now, some routers may say that that's an auto setting, just determined by the ISP. If it says auto, then switch it to manual, because you're going to be providing your own DNS, which is the OpenDNS servers. So to change this, what we're going to do is click on this little edit link here, and now I can pretty much change any of these numbers. So all I would have to do is go back over here to the article and copy these numbers. Hello. Copy. And I can paste them right here. Can I paste them all the way across? No, I can't paste them across here. I got to do them one at a time. So 208 67222 67222 123. 1, 2, 3. All right, that's DNS1. Let's see what DNS2 is. 208.67, 208.67, 220. 220, 1, 2, 3. All right, now all you have to do is click on Apply or OK and save those settings. And once you do, your router will then filter all of the internet content through OpenDNS. So let's see this in action. So over here on a new tab, if I were to try to access a website that had inappropriate content on it, this is what I would see. First of all, it would give me an error that would say my connection is not private, so that's a problem. But even if I were to push past this to go to advanced and then proceed, all I would get is a blank screen. And that's it. Congratulations. Give yourself a pat on the back. You did a good thing, because now you're protecting yourself and your family from inappropriate content through your internet connection. Now, this may not be 100%, but it's definitely a step in the right direction. Every device that is now connected to your router, whether physically or via Wi-Fi, will be filtering its content through OpenDNS servers, which means you won't be able to access inappropriate content. So I hope that's helpful to you. Something that I'd like to add is a little bit of the church's teaching on the virtue of chastity. And this is actually something that is, very much appropriate to consider given the state of things, right? Because what we're trying to avoid here are sins of a sexual nature, right? Sins of the flesh. And what the Catechism of the Catholic Church has to say about this is actually quite helpful, because it puts it in the proper context of a healthy sexuality for human beings. And that healthy sexuality is the vocation of marriage. But not only married couples are called to chastity. So take a listen here to what the Catechism has to say about chastity. And this is paragraph 2337. It says chastity means the successful integration of sexuality within the person, and thus the inner unity of man in his bodily and spiritual being. So it's about unity within one's self to start, but then it goes on. Sexuality, in which man's belonging to the bodily and biological world is expressed, becomes personal and truly human when it is integrated into the relationship of one person to another, in the complete and lifelong mutual gift of a man and a woman. So we're talking about chastity in marriage. And I direct you to both Mary and Joseph of the Holy Family. In fact, all three, including Jesus, were chaste. Joseph was Mary's most chaste spouse. Mary remained a virgin after, as before, the birth of Jesus. And Jesus himself was chaste and celibate. He did not take for himself a wife. So we, in the religious life and those who are living the single life, are called to model ourselves, our lives, after the life of Christ, who himself was a chaste man and lived for the sake of others, who gave of himself completely to others. And he did so not only through the cross, but throughout his entire ministry. He was constantly giving to people. Remember, he used to say, "Foxes have dens and birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to rest his head." He was always busy caring for others, and ultimately in the sacrifice that he made by giving his life. So we too have to enter into that sacrifice, that giving of something up. And what better way to do this than by making use of the tools that are available to us, right? OpenDNS cuts out the temptation, right? So now there's no temptation to want to explore this type of material online that can be dangerous for us. The other thing here, it says that the virtue of chastity, therefore, involves the integrity of the person and the integrality of the gift. So think about this. Unity within oneself leads to unity with others. That's the idea here. If I can be right with myself, then I'll be able to be right with others. And what a wonderful gift that is when it's fully expressed in the vocation of marriage or holy orders, or even in the single life when one is able to give themselves over to the service of the church, to the service of their neighbor. That's really the beauty of living a life of chastity. And this is something that the Christian is called to do. Jesus calls you to be chaste. Now, what about the other side of chastity? There is a vice. For every good virtue, there's always a vice. And that vice is explained pretty clearly in the Baltimore Catechism. This is my book on the Baltimore Catechism. Number 4, which goes into a little bit more detail here. And that vice against chastity is lust. So listen to what the Baltimore Catechism has to say about lust. Lust is the desire for sins of the flesh, for impure thoughts, words, or actions. It comes under the 6th and 9th commandments. So pop quiz for those who memorized their 10 commandments. The 6th commandment, thou shalt not commit adultery. And the 9th commandment, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. Now, I want to be mindful of not just the guys out there who may be tempted in this way, but also the women, okay? Because it works both ways. So ladies, you cannot lust after your girlfriend's husband. I think that goes without saying, but this is the language of the ancient world, all right? And it includes all that is forbidden. So lust includes everything that's forbidden in the 6th and the 9th commandment. It is the habit of always violating or of desiring to violate the 6th and 9th commandments. So what is this desire all about? Well, those are those impure thoughts that enter into our minds. The things that lead us to the temptation to want to fantasize about something or to want to go look at something online. So we have to be very mindful of those types of thoughts and keep them at bay. Lust and impurity mean the same thing. The followers of lust are generally neglect of prayer, neglect of the sacraments, and final loss of faith. We don't want that for anyone. But this is where lust will lead us if we give in to it. We don't want to lose our faith. But how do we lose our faith if we are praying, right? If you pray every day, it's going to be very hard for you to lose your faith because you're constantly connected to the Lord. So that would be one great remedy. And one of the best ways to do this is to pray to Our Lady of Good Remedy. This is one of the images that the Trinitarian fathers of the church would hold up. There are so many other wonderful images that we can use of the Blessed Mother because she herself is a great model of chastity for us. We can pray to Saint Joseph and ask him to give us strength because he himself, Mary's most chaste spouse. We can pray to Jesus, asking him to strengthen us in faith and love for one another, to live out our lives as he did in service of others, giving of himself freely and openly. Those are just the beginning. There's the Rosary. There are different chaplets. Divine Mercy is another beautiful chaplet. So consider the different tools that we have available at our fingertips. The internet is great. It can give us access to so much wonderful information, but it can also tempt us. And how do we defeat that temptation? We have to turn to prayer. So let us spend our time in prayer and try our best to avoid the things that lead us to sin, most especially that which is available in our pockets and at our fingertips. I hope this was helpful for you. If so, please give me a thumbs up. And if you know somebody who may be struggling with any of this type of content, please share the video. Maybe they can gain some perspective and maybe this will help them in the future. Until next time, thank you so much for watching and may the Lord give you his peace.